Hello, welcome back. So I'm super excited today because I want to explain exactly how this circle or cycle works, and that's why I named my book Circle of Wine. Wine was my favorite drink, and circle is because I kind of that's the way I explain it. So I hope it makes sense to you. It does make sense to me, and that's how I visualize it, and that's how I understand it, and that's what works for me. Okay, so the whole vicious cycle, I call it, right? So once you get in that cycle, just a matter of time, it's gonna spin you around, right, and throw you on the ground with enormous amount of guilt. So when just let me get you a story. I told my story a little bit, but the last day I was drinking, then I said I was seeing the visuals, right? That's when, first of all, I had my aha moment because it happened right after I was pregnant with my son, right? So I tried everything. I tried everything I read. I tried everything I saw. I tried everything somebody told me. Nothing worked for me. And I honestly thought there's no way out. So then I was pregnant with my son. I didn't drink, right? But I was counting days. And after that, I thought, I didn't drink for a year. And so now I'm cured. I can start having a drink there, and I'll be fine. So then I started having drinks at the party or somewhere, and before I know, a month later, I was in a hospital again. And that's when I understood that there's no other way. Like, I literally by then tried everything, right? So there's no other way, only to never drink again. So as I said, I sat down, and because I couldn't sleep for at least a week. I don't know why I couldn't sleep, the meds or something from a hospital. So then I would close my eyes, I would see the visuals, right? So the visual was, there's a man, it's like a cartoon. So I hope it makes sense that I'm explaining it. It is a little man, right? And then there's a bottle. So bottle of wine, it says wine on it, and the man is waiting, so he's holding a bottle of wine. And inside of a bottle of wine, there's a little devil. A little tiny devil dancing because he knows he's gonna get it in, right? So now the man drinks the bottle, and you can see the little devil gets inside the man. So now you see this, like, how in a cartoon, you see this little, his stomach, and devil's small. So he's just sitting there like a baby waiting for food, and obviously his food is alcohol. So I say that any addiction is little devil that you carry with you. So the more addictions you have, the more of them you have. So they're always there. As I say, for me, they always sit right here. So they're always waiting. They're waiting for a weak moment. They're waiting until you have a situation that maybe they're gonna say, these are the voices that tell you to have a drink, to buy a bottle, to go do something, smoke, or whatever it is that you're using, right? So they're always there, they're waiting. They just get weaker with time. So then their voices just become funny. And to me, it's just, I don't hear them anymore. If I hear them, it's just funny. I tell them to back off, and then they just stop. But obviously in the beginning, these would be the voices that say, hey, just go to a liquor store and away from work. Nothing's going to happen. It's going to be fine. So I'll go back to these little voices, and once again, that's a step 5. So I'll explain that more. So then there's the man, right? So the devil gets inside the man. And in the beginning, it's a little devil, so all he wants is, food. So every time in the beginning, the man thinks he can control it. So he maybe wants a wine today, maybe he wants some beer tomorrow, more or less, he thinks he can control it. Every time he drinks, the little devil grows, right? So he becomes stronger and stronger. Now, after a week or two of this kind of casual drinking, now the little devil becomes bigger and stronger. So he starts dictating, now you're going to buy a bottle, now you're going to buy this bottle, now you're going to buy a bigger bottle, right? And then before you know, he takes control over you. So again, it depends how bad your addiction was, but mine was obviously one of probably, I think, the worst. I did end up homeless, but I was very close a couple of times, right? So then, it takes over your body. And if you watch people that are drunk, like really drunk, you can see how angry they are. So we all know that evil is evil, right? So it's like the more, so the alcohol is the tool that evil uses to do the most harm, right? So the more you drink, the more harm you're gonna do. Because if you think about it, nothing good happens with alcohol, right? You're gonna make bad decisions. You're gonna meet people you didn't mean to meet. You're gonna lose money. You obviously somebody drives and kills somebody, right? You don't even remember a lot of times. So that's why it blocks your mind, and then it does all the harm. And the more harm you do, obviously the better for evils. And usually you attack people you love the most, and obviously you don't even remember after, right? So you kind of wake up the next day and like, what did I do this time? And that's exactly what happens. So the evil is in control. So then it uses your body to do all these evil things. And as I say, that's like the guilt, we'll talk about it later, but you got to get rid of guilt, because it's not technically you who did all these things. It's evil using your body. And sometimes even can see in people who drink a lot, you can see that little sparkle in their eyes. I can see it right away. So that's the people who carry that evil with them, and they, use alcohol, drugs, or whatever it is to do, because all the fights, all the people hurting, it happens with alcohol. So it is evil, and it is using you. So then after, again, depends how bad your addiction is. Mine was really bad. I would drink for a week, and I wouldn't even remember. Obviously, I would wake up and you can't even drink anymore, right? Your body doesn't take alcohol, because I didn't even eat, didn't drink water for a week. So my body's exhausted. I'm trying to drink because I feel so bad, but I can't anymore because, my body doesn't take alcohol anymore. Then I have the only choice is to go to the hospital. So then, as I say, the devil uses your body for all these bad things, for embarrassing yourself. As like going back to that little man. So he was going around asking everyone for alcohol. He was, embarrassing himself. He was sleeping on a corner. He was like hurting people, lying, and all these bad things, right? Until his body's just too exhausted to do that. So then I say, I can see the body laying next to the road, right? And sometimes you see people. Sometimes I see people laying on a side of a road, right? Because they're drunk and not necessarily homeless. Sometimes people do that because they just pass out. So I say the body's so weak, and the devil now leaves because he can't use your body anymore because it's too weak. And he says, until next time, right? So he leaves. He says, here you go. Now you have this weak body. You have enormous amount of guilt and shame, because most of the time you don't even remember what you did, right? So it's like the worst thing. I have kids, so then I wake up and I'm like, what did I do this time? And you hope you didn't kill somebody driving drunk, or whatever it is it could be. And people sometimes do that. And if I watch people now, so even the people who sometimes you see videos, right? They killed somebody while driving drunk. And if you watch them, they're still laughing or singing, right? And it's because the evil is still there. It's not the person. Well, obviously a day or two after, once the devil leaves, because there's no can't do anything to that body anymore, right? It's in jail. So then that person realizes and the things they would never do, or sometimes people kill people, right? And wake up and they're like, I don't remember, I don't know. So that's how serious this thing is. And the only way, so I call it the circle. So I even draw it here. Hopefully it makes more sense, right? So there's a circle, right? And I'm gonna draw you. I'm not an artist by any means, so bear with me. But there's a U. So now this is a circle, the vicious cycle that I say. Let's see, I'll write the cycle. So right is in there, and you're right here, right? So this is when you're not drinking, everything is fine. Now between these two is, I'm gonna draw, it's the only thing I can think of, is like margarita. That's a drink, right? So the drink is right there. You take a drink, you get inside, right? So then you get in here. We'll do a smiley face here. We do a sad face here. So 1 drink, and then you get inside. Once you get inside, it's just a matter of time. Some people, sometimes it's gonna take a day, like it's gonna take, what, 10, 20 days, right? Some people it's gonna take a month. Usually I see people that the cycle is going every month. So then they drink, they get really sick, they get better. After 2 or 3 weeks, they're like, oh, okay, I feel great. Maybe I should have a drink again. It's not gonna be as bad this time. We all know it's gonna be the same. It's gonna get worse every time, right? So the only way to stay out of this and not get spun through this whole thing and end up on sick and hopeless again is to stay out. The only way, that's the only thing that's keeping you out, is not having 1 drink. 1 drink is the key. You can never have 1 drink. Once you hit that 1 drink, there's no exceptions. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter how bad your addiction is. You're gonna go for that cycle. You're gonna do all the harm you can do, right? And then you're gonna end up again sick, sad, worthless, ashamed, broke, all these things. There's no good things that happens here. So I am here. I'm gonna stay here all the time. I always have little devils on my shoulders because I had smoking and drinking, used drugs too, but that wasn't too bad for me. It was a long time ago. So they're always sitting right here. So the way I understood, and you know, a couple of times, so a couple of things that happened to me, right? And I want you to understand the difference between accidentally having a drink. Accidents might happen, right? Somebody thinks it's funny, pour some things in your, that's why I always smell my drinks. I always, you know, check my drinks and everything. But there was 2 incidents in my life after, you know, and after I stopped drinking. So first I went to a restaurant, I ordered a virgin margarita. And the other thing too, these days you can have so many drinks that has no alcohol in it and literally taste even better. Like if you think about it after a while, you know, alcohol does not taste good at all, right? 0. So I went there, I ordered virgin margarita. She brings it in, I smell it, I'm like, seems fine. Then I have a little sip and I'm like, it doesn't seem right. Something is off. And somebody I was with, they tasted it. They're like, fine, there's no alcohol. So I'm like, okay, I'm overthinking. Like always, I take another sip and it's like, no, I don't know. So I asked the waitress, I'm like, you know, just to make sure this is no alcohol. And she says, oh yeah, there's alcohol in there. So I was in the middle of a restaurant. I started crying. I broke down. I was crying so much because I could just think of my worst times, and I thought about all the things that I built right now, how they all gonna just fall apart. Then I'm gonna end up in the same spot again, you know, and everything I have, everything I created is just gonna fall apart. So I keep crying. They obviously get the managers, they're like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, you know, it's not you. Obviously, there's a mistake, but like for me, it's a big deal, right? So I had to leave. I got in the car and I'm sitting there and I said, you're strong enough. You know, it's been so many years. You're going to be okay. You know, forget about this. Don't get yourself too worked out. It's not. So there's a big difference between taking a drink and accidentally having one, right? And I say some people try to play the system, right? It's like, I'll take a drink, nobody will know. You will know, and God will know. That's the only 2 that needs to know, right? And honestly, at the end of the day, it's you. I don't know if you believe in God, I do, but like if you don't, that's you. So you know, that's the only person that matters really at the end of the day, right? So I was fine. 6 months later or so, I go to a new church. I go to a church and you know how they serve a communion, and I'm standing in line. That's, you know, there's people around me that I knew, and I'm like, they're not serving wine, right, in those little cups. And they're like, oh no, probably not. And it was our first time there. So we're like, no, there's no way, because we see kids drinking. And so in my old church, it was Jews. So I knew, right? But I was like, okay. So then I go to a priest, and before I take the communion, I'm like, this is not wine, right? And he's looking at me, not understanding what I'm asking. He just doesn't say anything. And I'm like, okay. So I take that little cup and I drink it, and I realize it is wine. And I could certainly recognize the type of wine that, you know, I've drank them all. So I certainly recognize the type of wine, and I going back to my seat, and I'm almost passing out. I'm like, I don't know what to do, right? I don't know what to do. Like, I'm freaking out again. So then I go and I just get on my knees and I say, God, you know, like, I didn't mean to do this. Like, I really didn't know, right? So then again, I tell myself I'm strong enough, everything is fine, you know, it's going to be fine. But check this out. Now I'm going to church next Sunday, and guess what thoughts I have? My thoughts say, see, nothing happened. Now I can have a little wine every Sunday. Nothing's gonna happen. It's just a little wine. It's gonna be good for you. Like, it's, you know, saint. And I recognized it right away, and I said, wait a second. They're already out to get me. So they're trying to get me, right? And that's how strong it is. It's just out there all the time. So they don't sleep, they don't disappear anywhere. That's why I'm saying you can beat your addiction, right? You can win, but you cannot get rid of it. So you just have to know it's always there. You have to know there's no such a thing as one drink. And you have to be careful. You have to be aware all the time. So we'll talk about it more in step 5. That is part of step 5, but I kind of wanted to explain it here as well. So that's how the cycle works. The other thing I wanted to explain today is the step 2, which is change your mindset, right? So when you decide already, decision is number 1. Now you know how addiction works, right? We talked about it today. Now the third thing, which is step 2, but the third thing, very important thing, is change your mindset. I see a lot of people who are like, okay, now I can't drink. Now a victim, everybody else can drink, I cannot drink. Sad all the time, miserable all the time, mad at everybody else around me, right? That's not gonna get you nowhere. There's absolutely no reason to go through the steps and then feel miserable, right? So might as well feel miserable drinking. You don't have to do anything. No, you are not a victim. You are now a winner. You won over your addiction. You made a decision. You're on the right path. There's nothing to feel sorry about. Got to get up every day, enjoy every single moment. Obviously, in the beginning, you're going to go through body changes. It's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to go through like different types of, you know, habits. You don't do the same things anymore. You got to relearn things to be able to feel everything because you're not numb anymore, right? But the way I look at it is you are a winner, right? You are now in control. So the difference is, for me, is I don't want you to think you cannot drink. The way I help myself to tell myself that I can drink. Everybody can drink. We can go to a store, get a bottle, 2 or 5, get drunk. We can all drink, right? But I'm making a choice. So my choice is to never drink again. So I choose life, I choose health, I choose happiness over all these sadnesses, you know, all these low frequency things. So now it's different, because then you can't have something like a kid, you're gonna wanna have it. So it's a constant fight, constant struggle, right? We don't want that. You want to be able to choose. Now you are in control. So now you're choosing, and what you're gonna choose is you're going to choose happiness, you're going to choose life over the misery and drink. And remember, it only takes 1 drink. So I want you to think about it, right? And just think about it this week and what choices you're going to make. Think about this cycle and kind of write down, and you can even email me and tell me what your cycle is. You know, how long does it take for you from one incident of drinking to another, where you can stay sober for like a week? How long do you stay sober? How long do you drink? And see if you can see the pattern. Is it always the same? Is it always you get in a cycle, don't drink, drink, don't drink, drink. So just think about it, see what it is for you, and we'll go to the next step. Okay?